what we're going to do today is just demonstrate our Weber battery tools and just a unique technique and some techniques that friends will use that's widely used throughout Europe. Maybe a little bit different to what we do over here, but certainly what they do over there in Europe is how Francis is going to do it. He's firstly going to he's going to tunnel in through the top of the A pillar and the B pillar on the car and remove the door. So he's just going to do some tunneling and show you different ways and different techniques. So I'll explain a little bit as you go through, and also the versatility and the power and everything of the Weber range of tools in battery. So he's just going to create a gap on the door sill, and now so all Franz is going to do now is just opening himself, making some room to get down inside into the pillar there. So, and he'll using the length of the tool to swing off it to bend the frame out. So Fran's just going to tunnel down into the car now, as you can see. You want to go bring it down? I can't hear, sorry. This is an SP35 spreader. So we get 600 mil of opening on the spreader. Yep.
I'll hand that to you.
Patient access has now been granted to me to come in and do my primary survey and examination of the person that's in the vehicle. As I was looking at the vehicle, I was sizing up the mechanisms of injury. This vehicle has obviously been subjected to rollover forces. There's been a big wash of kinetic energy before it come to a rest. But when I'm considering about the injuries that are inside here, it's not like it's been a sudden deceleration there, guys. With that rotational, I'm predicting that there's a high level of cervical trauma, thoracic trauma. Is that right, guys? Side intrusion. As primary stabilisation and access has occurred, I'm going in with very light amount of equipment. I said earlier in that presentation that there's 3 preventable causes of death following trauma, and it's always in this order that massive blood loss has got to be identified and controlled first. As I've come in, I've found that there was arterial bleeding coming from an open compound fracture where it looks like the radial artery has been taken out. As I've seen this, I've moved straight forward, and above that bleed, I've located a tourniquet and immediately stopped that bleed. Bleed is what we're identifying first before we start to assess the airway. When I'm going in very light. So I've got my bleed control. I've got a commercial chest seal if needed. A very simple adjunct airway devices there as well. I've obviously taken the opportunity to prep this casualty, but as I've come in and as access has been given to me, I've identified bleed, I've located a tourniquet, and I've stopped that bleed. I've moved forward then to assess the airway, and if I do have a patent airway, then I'm just going to expose to chest wall to make sure I haven't missed a sucking chest wound or closed pneumohemothoraxes or the potential of a tension developing. I've stopped the bleed, I've assessed the airway, and I've opened up the chest wall, and if needed with penetration trauma, I'm going in with a commercial chest seal to stabilise.
The paramedics have asked us to come in and make more room in the vehicle so we can get to the patient a bit better. So we're going to take out the back door, and then Franz will most likely address the B pillar here as well. So.
So as I'm still in there with the patient, and given what I believe would be the mechanism of injury, I've chosen to use the KED Pro to protect worsening of potential spinal injuries, and to have him packaged to get him out of the vehicle. I've chosen this approach as opposed to the standard Mills technique, the manual inline support technique. They're very good, guys, for where people are hemodynamically unstable and they've got to come out quick. This casualty, once that bleed was controlled, is actually quite in a stable condition, so I've packaged him up with the KED.
Okay, so what Franz has done here is gone directly at the lock. So what he'll do now is go up to the top of the door and again tunnel down to the lock.
And still, if you start here, always go on top of the lock.
Yeah, as you said then, when you start down the bottom here, always go on top of the lock anyhow as well. So.
It's not working, I use the cutter.
You can cut the lock?
Yeah. Not the lock, around the
Yep, yep. So what Franz has got now is a 180 cutter, so it's a mid-range cutter. It's got insert blades as well, so any so that sort of the blades is not expensive to replace blades if need be at some stage. Sorry? About 23 kilos with the cutters, the mid-range cutters, and about 18, 19 kilos for the spreaders. With the batteries, they're a Milwaukee battery, so they're readily available in Australia in the 3 amp. The 5 amp we bring into the country. So trade tools and places like that, Milwaukee batteries are available. So 5 amp hour battery better. It's just a more powerful battery, but there's a lot more cost involved as well sometimes. You got my knife on you? So this will give the access to the paramedics to the patient, so it gives them the full width of the whole car there to get access into it.
And I always can see what I'm cutting, you know?
Yep. You've got all power cables running all over the place. You just don't know where they are sometimes.
Always on the safe side and cutting.
Yep. So it's full access now.
It's a European way.
So he's perfectly packaged, he's ready to go for extrication there. I've got 3 lift points. And his whole spine from lumbar right through to cervical is perfectly packaged. You gonna come and give me a hand? You got a handle underneath here on your side. You can feel that. Now we're just going to use the board, guys. So we've got the seat back. We've got a little bit of space. We've got the board that's in there. I've got his arms and his legs secured so we can start to feed him out. Alan's going to brace that board. Now, if you're right to support those lower legs there as we come out. All right. 300 mil feeds. 1, 2, 3. Move. Reposition. 1, 2, 3. Move. Okay, can you get those feet out? All right, Dave? All right. He's nice and light.
Yep.
Are you right just to grab to the feet?
Yep.
And then take it on both ends there. And bring it right around to the front so they can have a better look at it.
Put him down.
Francis is going to do a dash lift. Like normally, as you know, we have to do several cuts to do a dash lift. Over in Europe, they avoid the cuts again because of with vehicles, what's inside the pillars, what's around, what you can't see with cutting. So they'll do just use a set of spreaders and they'll do a dash lift with no cuts at all. So, and you get about 6 to 9, at least minimum 6 inches in the steering column lifted up. So the steering wheel's now coming out of the way now. So all Francis is doing now is using the sill of the car that's already been stabilised and getting to the reinforced bar inside under the dash, and it's just lifting that all up, and that's just going to bring the steering wheel up into the windscreen.
You got that much space.
Obviously, if you do a cut there on the A pillar, you will get a lot more lift, but without, if you don't do a cut there, you'll still get at least, sort of 5 to 6 inches.
Centimeters.
Thanks very much, guys.